Most people think depression is only sadness. But deep inside that silence, the mind starts observing differently. When emotions fade, attention sharpens. The world doesn't soften anymore. It becomes real. Pain forces the brain to see things as they are, without illusions. It's not coldness, it's clarity, born from struggle. Psychologists call it depressive realism. It's when sadness strips away our false control. Most people believe they can shape every outcome. Depressed minds see otherwise, that sometimes life just happens. This clarity isn't pessimism. It's truth untinted by hope, the kind that sees through comforting lies. Psychologists once tested how people perceive control. Most believed they could influence a random light switch, but the depressed participants saw reality. They knew it was chance. Their minds didn't crave false comfort. It's not cynicism, it's accuracy, born from a life that's already taught them how little control truly exists. When you lose something you love, the mind stops pretending. Depression often begins where hope ends. But what rises in its place is logic, a tool of survival. The heart breaks, yet the mind rebuilds with precision. In pain, emotion softens, and reason steps forward like a quiet caretaker of meaning. Depression changes how the brain processes reward. Joy feels distant, yet clarity deepens. Without the pull of pleasure, the mind starts evaluating, carefully, logically. It no longer chases feelings, it studies them. That detachment, though heavy, sharpens awareness like cold water to the face. When joy fades, dopamine levels drop. The brain's reward system quiets. Things once exciting now feel neutral. But in that quiet, something interesting happens. Logic grows louder. Without the noise of pleasure chasing, the mind becomes more analytical, evaluating facts rather than feelings. Depression turns silence into a data-rich stillness. Depressed logic is heavy. It doesn't chase quick fixes or easy optimism. It questions everything: meaning, purpose, fairness. The mind, stripped of comfort, dissects existence like an equation. It's exhausting but pure. Depression doesn't make you irrational. It forces you to face life without anesthesia. Depression often mirrors truth without warmth. It doesn't lie, but it forgets comfort. The mind becomes a mirror reflecting reality unsoftened. Friends drift, futures blur, and fairness cracks. Yet that honesty, though harsh, is strangely grounding. You can only rebuild from truth, not illusion. When the brain stops expecting comfort, it starts calculating. Every choice becomes logic-based. What's necessary? What's waste? It's not pessimism, it's precision. Depression can feel like the mind's software running in diagnostic mode, scanning every belief for errors. Inside depression, emotion and logic fight, but they also cooperate. The limbic system cries. The prefrontal cortex plans. One feels, the other explains. Depression isn't chaos, it's communication. The brain negotiating between survival and sense-making. What feels like despair is often an argument between heart and reason. Grief simplifies. It clears out trivial noise and leaves only essentials. In loss, you realize what matters and what never did. Depression often follows because the truth is heavy. But clarity born of loss is precise. Painful, yes, but pure. Loneliness forces reflection. With no one to convince, the mind becomes brutally honest. Every belief gets tested. Depression's isolation can be unbearable, but it's also a mirror, showing how much of our happiness depends on noise. In stillness, logic grows louder. like a whisper that finally gets heard. Many philosophies echo the depressed mind. Stoicism teaches acceptance. Realism teaches endurance. Depression often thinks like a philosopher, expecting less, enduring more. This isn't apathy, it's a form of preparation. Stoic clarity emerges when hope dies, and logic begins to lead the way. Existentialism says despair is part of being alive. Depressed logic already knows this, that meaning isn't found, it's built. When the world feels hollow, the analytical mind begins construction. Every question becomes a brick of survival. This logic isn't emotionless, it's quietly heroic. History's deepest thinkers often battled darkness. Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, Woolf. They saw despair as a tool, not an enemy. Depression invites the same thinking. Dissect pain, study it, translate it. In doing so, sorrow becomes knowledge. Logic, then, is not cold, it's compassionate understanding. Depression's logic isn't robotic, it's deeply human. It reasons from pain, not indifference. It asks, if everything fades, what truly matters? That's philosophy disguised as suffering. To feel and still reason, that's strength, not coldness. Too much logic, though, becomes paralysis. When every consequence is seen, every failure predicted, action feels impossible. Depression's clarity can freeze motion. The same logic that sees truth must also learn mercy, the ability to act without complete certainty. Healing begins when logic meets hope, when clarity stops being punishment and becomes guidance. Depression may strip illusions, but it also prepares the ground for honest joy, one rooted in truth, not fantasy. The goal isn't to erase logic or chase blind positivity. It's balance. Depression shows truth. Optimism gives energy. Together they form wisdom. To think clearly and still believe gently, that's emotional intelligence. So yes, depressed people can be deeply logical. Not because they lack feeling, but because they've felt too much. Pain refined their perception. Their logic is survival. Their clarity, compassion. Depression strips illusions but leaves awareness. And from that, a new kind of strength is born.